There is a quiet strength that walks among us, a steady current beneath the surface of hurried days and restless nights. It does not waver when storms rage, nor does it tremble in the face of the unknown. It is the kind of trust that stands tall when the ground beneath shifts and bends, but never breaks. It is the heart that does not question if the sun will rise, for it knows in a place deeper than knowledge itself, that even in the darkest hour, dawn must come. Those who carry this trust do not fear the waiting seasons, nor do they crumble when doors close before them. They move differently, walk with a certainty that confounds the doubtful and comforts the weary. They do not seek proof, for they have already seen too much to doubt. Their eyes are fixed beyond what the world calls real, beyond what hands can hold or minds can explain. And in their quiet, unshaken presence, there is a lesson for all of us. What is it that makes them different? What is it that holds them steady when all else is slipping away? These are the habits of those who trust completely, those who have surrendered the weight of their fears, those who have chosen faith over sight. There is a man standing at the edge of a river. The bridge has crumbled, the waters rush wild and unrelenting, but his eyes do not betray a single ounce of fear. He does not pace the shore, does not throw his hands to the sky in despair. Instead, he steps forward, not because he has seen a way, not because the water has stilled, but because he knows the way will be made. And then there is a woman, worn by time, her hands lined with the years of labor, of loss, of love. She does not hold tightly to what she has, does not grasp at the things of this world as if they could save her. She gives freely, loves deeply, knowing that what leaves her hands was never hers to keep. There is a child, laughter spilling from his lips, playing in a world that has not yet taught him to fear. He does not ask if the sky will hold him before he leaps. He jumps because he trusts. You see, those who trust do not live by what their eyes can see. They do not demand answers before they move. Their steps are not measured by logic alone, nor do they falter when the road turns unseen. They rise each morning not wondering if they will be cared for, but knowing their peace is not borrowed from circumstances, not shaken by whispers of doubt. They have learned the language of stillness. They sit in silence, not because there is nothing to do, but because they understand that movement without wisdom is wasted energy. They have trained their hearts to wait, to listen, to receive before they act. They do not rush the seasons, do not force the doors that are meant to stay closed. They know that every delay holds purpose, that every unanswered question is a call to patience, not panic. And when they do move, they move with boldness. Their steps do not waver, for they are not guided by fear. They do not seek approval from those who do not understand their journey. They do not shrink when the world calls them foolish, do not bend beneath the weight of what others say is impossible. They know that faith is not found in the easy places, that strength is not built in comfort. They do not resist the fire, for they understand that gold is refined in heat, not in ease. They have mastered the art of release. They do not cling to bitterness, do not hold grudges as if they were treasures. They forgive, not because it is deserved, not because it is easy, but because they understand that to hold on is to chain themselves to the very things they wish to be free from. Their hands are open, their hearts unburdened. They walk in gratitude, not because their lives are without struggle, but because they have trained their eyes to see the good, even in the midst of the storm. They understand that joy is not found in the absence of trials, but in the ability to see light in the darkness. They do not complain when the road is hard, do not curse the heavens when things do not go their way. Instead, they whisper thanks for the trials that have shaped them, for the lessons wrapped in difficulty, for the unseen hands that have carried them through. And oh, how they love, not with conditions, not with reservations. They do not love because it is easy or because it is returned. They love because love is their nature, because they understand that to love is to live fully. They do not withhold kindness, do not measure out grace in teaspoons. Their love is deep, wide, unshaken. They carry peace like a garment, wear it in the way they speak, in the way they move through the world. They are not troubled by what is beyond their control, do not lose sleep over the uncertainties of tomorrow. They have made their choice to trust, to believe, to rest in what they cannot see. And so they live, not with trembling hands and fearful hearts, but with a confidence that does not break. They rise each day with assurance, lay their heads down each night without worry, for they know beyond reason, beyond proof, that they are held, guided, sustained, and that is enough. Their footsteps do not falter when the path grows narrow, nor do their hearts quake when the winds howl against them. They stand firm, not because the road is easy, but because they have learned that faith is not about smooth highways and gentle breezes. No, faith is the fire that keeps burning in the coldest night. It is the steady hand that reaches forward when the way is hidden. It is the knowing, deep and unshakable, that even when everything appears to be against them, they are not abandoned. They are not consumed by worry, for worry is the fruit of doubt, and they have surrendered doubt long ago. They do not spend their nights turning over every possibility, trying to wrestle control from unseen hands. They do not let fear dictate their choices, nor do they let anxiety determine their next step. When trouble arises, they do not panic. When difficulties come, they do not crumble. They have made peace with the truth that struggle is part of the journey, and they have no need to resist it. They know that every storm that touches their life is one that will leave them stronger if they stand firm. They speak with intention, not throwing careless words into the wind, not speaking in fear or anger. Their words do not cut, do not tear down, do not wound without reason. They know that the tongue has power, that what is spoken into the world has a way of returning. So they guard their speech, choosing words that build, that restore, that uplift. They do not use their voices to spread fear, nor do they lend their tongues to gossip and destruction. Their words carry weight, and they use them wisely. They are not driven by what the world calls success, for they understand that true success is not counted in coins, not measured in titles or fame. They do not chase after fleeting things, do not exhaust themselves in pursuit of treasures that fade. They know that their worth is not determined by what they own, nor is their value found in the opinions of others. They walk in contentment, knowing that they lack nothing. They celebrate the blessings they have rather than mourning the things they do not. Their joy is not found in accumulation, but in the peace that comes with knowing that all they need will be provided in its time. They do not seek revenge, do not repay harm with harm. When they are wronged, they do not plot ways to make others suffer. When they are betrayed, they do not let bitterness take root in their hearts. They know that justice is not theirs to enforce, that vengeance is a weight too heavy to bear. Instead, they release, they forgive, they move forward without shackles of resentment binding their souls. They understand that freedom is found not in making others pay, but in walking away from the burden of hatred. They endure hardship with grace. When life presses against them, they do not lash out, do not crumble beneath the weight. They do not run from pain, do not try to escape the refining fire. They have learned that struggle is the furnace where strength is forged. They do not resist the process, do not fight against what is shaping them. They trust that even in the hardest moments, something greater is being worked within them. And so they press on, holding their heads high, refusing to be broken by the temporary trials of life. They know the importance of humility. They do not seek to exalt themselves, do not chase after recognition. They do not boast in their own strength, nor do they see themselves as greater than others. They walk with quiet confidence, knowing that true greatness is not found in arrogance, but in a heart willing to serve. They do not need applause to validate their worth, do not require praise to confirm their purpose. They move with certainty, not because they are seeking glory, but because they know that purpose is greater than pride. They are patient. They do not rush ahead, do not try to force things before their time. They understand that everything has a season, that every promise unfolds in its appointed hour. They do not grow restless in the waiting, do not let impatience drive them into foolish decisions. They know that delay is not denial, that preparation often comes in the form of waiting. So they stand firm, trusting that what is meant for them will come when the time is right. They do not grasp at things not yet ready, do not demand answers before they are given. Instead, they rest, knowing that what is meant to be will always find its way. They are not shaken by the opinions of others. They do not change their path to please the crowd, do not compromise their values for acceptance. They do not need validation from those who do not understand their journey. They are not swayed by criticism, nor are they discouraged by doubt. They walk with confidence, not because they seek approval, but because they know that their path is not determined by the voices of the world. They stand firm, knowing that truth does not waver based on public opinion. They do not live in fear of the future. They do not spend their days worrying about what tomorrow may bring. Do not allow uncertainty to steal their peace. They understand that the future is not theirs to control, and they do not need to know every step before they take the next one. They live in the present, embracing each moment without fear of what is ahead. They move forward boldly, not because they know what awaits, but because they trust that whatever comes, they will not face it alone. They find strength in community, knowing that they were never meant to walk this journey alone. They do not isolate themselves in times of trouble, do not carry burdens they were never meant to bear alone. They understand that there is power in standing together, that encouragement is found in those who share their faith. They build others up, offering kindness, support, and wisdom. They do not compete, do not seek to outshine others. They celebrate the victories of their brothers and sisters, knowing that one person's success does not diminish another's. They live with purpose, understanding that their lives are not random, that they were created for something greater. They do not waste time chasing things that do not matter, do not fill their days with meaningless pursuits. They seek to make an impact, to leave the world better than they found it. They understand that every action, every word, every choice has significance. They do not drift through life aimlessly, but move with intention, knowing that their time is precious. They are unshaken in times of crisis. When the world around them trembles, they do not lose heart. When everything they once knew is turned upside down, they do not fall into despair. They stand firm, knowing that even when everything else is uncertain, they have a foundation that cannot be moved. They do not let fear consume them. Do not allow worry to take root in their hearts. They press on, knowing that no storm lasts forever. They are filled with hope even in the darkest of times. They do not let the weight of the world crush their spirit. Do not allow disappointment to steal their joy. They hold on, believing that even when things seem impossible, even when the road is hard and the night is long, a new day is coming. They do not give up, do not surrender to despair. They keep moving, keep believing, keep trusting. And so they live, not with fear, not with doubt, but with a confidence that cannot be explained. They walk with peace, with joy, with a certainty that is unshaken by the trials of life. They are not without struggle, not without hardship, but they are without fear. And in their steady, unwavering steps, there is a lesson for all of us. They rise before the sun, not in haste, not in desperation, but in quiet expectation. They do not start the day with a heavy heart, burdened by what is yet to be done. No, they step into each moment with a calm assurance, knowing that what is needed for the day will be provided. They do not dread the unknown, do not carry yesterday's troubles into today's hours. They greet the morning with gratitude, with a heart open to receive whatever is meant for them. They do not wake up afraid, do not let anxiety take its place before their feet have even touched the ground. They trust, and so they move forward with a steady pace. They do not rush. They are not caught in the hurried rhythms of the world, chasing after things that will never satisfy. They walk with intention, knowing that speed is not the measure of success. They do not strive endlessly, do not exhaust themselves in the pursuit of more. They know that what is meant to be theirs will come in its time, that the things they truly need cannot be gained through restless striving. They have learned the art of balance, of knowing when to work and when to rest. They do not live as if everything depends on them alone, but rather they trust in the timing that is beyond their own understanding. They give without hesitation. They do not hold tightly to what they have, fearing it will not be replaced. They do not count their blessings with clenched fists, but with open hands. They are not afraid of lack, for they know that abundance is not measured by what is stored away, but by what is freely shared. They give love without fear of rejection, give kindness without expecting return. They are generous not because they have much, but because they know that everything they have is a gift not meant to be hoarded. They understand that what flows freely from their hands will never leave them empty. They face trials with a quiet strength. They do not collapse under the weight of trouble, nor do they allow hardship to shake their foundation. They have seen enough to know that struggles are not meant to destroy, but to build. They do not curse their difficulties, do not resent the seasons of testing. They know that growth does not come from ease, that wisdom is not born from comfort. They embrace challenges, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know that every trial carries a lesson. Every hardship shapes them into something greater. They do not fight against the fire, but walk through it, knowing they will emerge strong. They are not easily offended. They do not waste energy on petty conflicts, do not carry grudges like chains around their hearts. They do not let bitterness take root, do not let pride keep them from peace. They understand that people will fail, that words will wound, that misunderstandings will come. But they do not let these things define them. They choose forgiveness, not because it is easy, but because they know that holding on to hurt only weighs them down. They release what was done to them, not to excuse it, but to free themselves from its grip. They refuse to let the actions of others steal their joy. They are not controlled by emotions. They do not allow anger to rule their decisions, do not let fear shape their future. They do not trust in feelings that shift like the wind, but in the steady truth that does not change. They experience pain, they feel sorrow, they know disappointment, but they do not let these things consume them. They have learned that emotions are real but not always reliable, that feelings may come and go, but wisdom remains. They do not react impulsively, do not let temporary feelings lead to permanent consequences. They pause, they reflect, they respond with patience and clarity. They choose joy, not because their lives are without struggle, not because they are untouched by sorrow, but because they have trained their hearts to see the good even in the midst of difficulty. They do not wait for everything to be perfect before they embrace happiness. They do not tie their joy to circumstances that will change with the seasons. They find reasons to smile even when the world gives them reasons to frown. They do not let hardship steal their laughter, do not let trials dim their light. They walk through life with a spirit that cannot be broken, a joy that cannot be stolen. They speak words of life. They do not waste their breath on complaints, do not fill the air with negativity. They do not spread doubt, do not plant seeds of discouragement in the hearts of others. They use their voices to uplift, to encourage, to inspire. They choose their words carefully, knowing that what they speak has the power to heal or to harm. They do not engage in gossip, do not use their tongues to tear others down. They build, they restore, they bring light through the words they choose to release into the world. They do not compare their journey to others. They do not look to the left or the right, measuring their progress against someone else's path. They do not let jealousy take root, do not let envy steal their peace. They understand that their story is uniquely written, that their timing is different from another's. They celebrate the successes of others without feeling threatened, knowing that one person's victory does not mean their own defeat. They stay focused on their own path, trusting that they are exactly where they are meant to be. They remain teachable. They do not assume they know it all, do not let pride keep them from growth. They seek wisdom, listen more than they speak, remain open to correction. They do not resist change, do not fear learning new things. They surround themselves with those who challenge them to be better, who push them toward greater understanding. They do not reject advice simply because it is difficult to hear, but welcome it as an opportunity to improve. They are lifelong learners, always growing, always becoming. They love without limits. They do not withhold kindness, do not put conditions on their care for others. They do not love only when it is easy, only when it is returned. They love even when it costs them something, even when it is difficult. They do not close their hearts to those who are different, do not turn away from those who are in need. They love with a depth that does not fade, with a strength that does not break. They love not because the world tells them to, but because it is who they are. They are fearless in the face of uncertainty. They do not need to see the whole path before they take the next step. They do not shrink back when the future is unclear. They trust not in what they can control, but in what is beyond their control. They do not hesitate, do not waver, do not retreat. They press forward, knowing that the way will be made even when it is not yet visible. They do not allow fear to dictate their choices. Do not let uncertainty keep them from moving forward. They walk boldly, without hesitation, without doubt. They live with peace that does not depend on their circumstances. They do not let the chaos of the world steal their stillness. They do not allow the storms of life to shake them. Their peace is not found in things, not rooted in fleeting comforts, but in something deeper. They rest even when there is much to do. They breathe even when the world demands they hurry. They are not rushed, not frantic, not overwhelmed. They live in a calm that cannot be explained, a quiet confidence that cannot be disturbed. They remain steadfast no matter what comes. They do not turn away when the road is difficult, do not abandon their faith when things do not go as planned. They do not let hardship make them bitter, do not let loss make them hopeless. They endure, they persevere, they stand. They do not give up, do not give in, do not lose heart. They keep believing, keep hoping, keep trusting. And in their unwavering strength, in their steady and unbreakable faith, they find victory not in avoiding trials, but in overcoming them. They walk with a quiet assurance, never desperate to prove themselves, never grasping for validation from the world. Their confidence is not loud, not boastful, but steady and unwavering. They do not measure themselves by the opinions of others, do not rise and fall based on the applause or rejection they receive. They know who they are, know what they stand for, and they do not waver when the world questions them. Their worth is not up for debate, not subject to change with the shifting of seasons. They remain unshaken because they have placed their trust in something that does not fail, does not fade, does not falter under pressure. They do not chase after what does not belong to them. They do not covet, do not scheme, do not force their way into places they were never meant to be. They have learned that what is truly theirs will never require manipulation, never require compromise of their values. They do not push past closed doors, do not beg to be seen, do not scramble for attention. They wait with patience, knowing that every opportunity meant for them will find them in its perfect time. They do not rush ahead of their destiny. Do not try to take shortcuts to where they are meant to be. They walk steadily, knowing that nothing that belongs to them will ever be lost. They let go of what no longer serves them. They do not cling to things that drain them. Do not hold on to relationships that pull them away from their purpose. They are not afraid to release, not afraid to walk away from what was never meant to stay. They do not mourn over things that were taken, do not lament over seasons that have passed. They understand that letting go is not losing, but making room for something greater. They do not look back with regret, do not hold on to what is trying to leave. They trust that every ending is a doorway to something new, something better, something designed just for them. They do not waste time on distractions. They do not entertain things that do not align with their purpose. They are not easily swayed, not easily pulled away from what matters most. They do not fill their days with meaningless pursuits, do not allow the noise of the world to drown out the voice of wisdom. They are intentional with their time, knowing that every moment is valuable, every choice has weight. They do not waste energy chasing approval, do not spend their lives pursuing things that will never satisfy. They remain focused, disciplined, and clear in their direction, never letting temporary pleasures rob them of their destiny. They embrace solitude without fear. They do not dread being alone, do not fill the silence with unnecessary noise. They know that solitude is not loneliness, but an opportunity to grow, to reflect, to strengthen their inner world. They do not fear the quiet, do not run from the moments of stillness. They welcome time away from the distractions, knowing that clarity is often found in silence. They do not need to be constantly surrounded, do not seek validation in a crowd. They are comfortable in their own presence, secure in their own thoughts, at peace with their own company. They do not let failure define them. They do not crumble when they fall. Do not let mistakes convince them they are unworthy. They understand that failure is not the end, but a lesson, not a punishment, but a teacher. They do not let setbacks turn into stopping points. Do not allow missteps to keep them from moving forward. They rise again and again with wisdom gained from every fall. They do not wallow in regret. Do not drown in disappointment. They take what they have learned and use it to become stronger, wiser, better. They understand that success is not about never failing, but about refusing to stay down. They do not live in the past. They do not hold on to pain that was meant to be healed. Do not replay memories that only bring sorrow. They do not carry the weight of yesterday into today. Do not allow old wounds to control their present. They understand that healing requires release, that moving forward means letting go. They do not live in what was. Do not dwell on what could have been. They embrace the now, knowing that every new day is an opportunity, every new moment a fresh start. They refuse to be chained to a history, that no longer serves them. They welcome change with open hands. They do not resist growth, do not fight against transformation. They understand that to remain the same is to become stagnant, that true strength is found in adaptability. They do not cling to comfort, do not fear the unknown. They step into new seasons without hesitation, knowing that every change carries purpose. They do not long for the past, do not resist what is coming. They embrace each shift, each new beginning, with faith that whatever lies ahead is greater than what was left behind. They do not allow anger to control them. They do not let resentment take root in their hearts. Do not carry grudges like heavy chains. They understand that holding on to bitterness only poisons the soul, only drains the spirit. They choose peace over rage, healing over hatred. They do not seek revenge, do not waste energy plotting against those who have wronged them. They release the weight of offense, knowing that true freedom is found in forgiveness. They do not let the actions of others dictate their own. Do not allow pain to turn them into someone they are not. They trust in timing they do not control. They do not rush the process. Do not demand answers before their time. They have learned that every season has a purpose, that waiting is not wasted time. They do not grow restless in the in-between. Do not let impatience lead them into choices they will later regret. They stand firm, knowing that what is meant to be will unfold exactly when it is supposed to. They do not force what is not ready, do not demand what is not yet theirs. They wait with confidence, knowing that the best things come to those who do not lose faith. They do not measure their worth by external things. They do not seek validation in status, in wealth, in accomplishments. They do not need to prove themselves through what they own. Do not chase after success to feel valuable. They know that true worth is not found in things that can be lost, not built on foundations that can crumble. They walk in confidence, not because they have everything the world admires, but because they know that their value is unshakable, unchangeable, undeniable. They do not allow fear to dictate their steps. They do not retreat when faced with uncertainty, do not hesitate when confronted with the unknown. They have faced enough storms to know that fear is a liar, that doubt is a thief. They do not let anxiety determine their choices. Do not let insecurity keep them from taking risks. They step forward boldly, not because they have all the answers, but because they trust that whatever lies ahead is worth walking toward. They do not let what ifs hold them back. Do not let the possibility of failure keep them from trying. They move, even when afraid, knowing that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be ruled by it. They find peace in simplicity. They do not chase after excess, do not drown in the need for more. They are content with what they have, satisfied with what is before them. They do not compare their lives to others, do not measure happiness by accumulation. They understand that joy is not found in possessions, that fulfillment is not bought with riches. They live simply, love deeply, and find beauty in the ordinary. They do not complicate their lives with unnecessary burdens, do not tie their happiness to things that can fade. They are at peace, not because they have everything, but because they know they already have enough. They do not quit when the journey gets hard. They do not surrender to weariness, do not abandon their purpose when obstacles arise. They push forward, not because the road is easy, but because they know that perseverance is what separates the strong from the weak. They do not allow hardship to break them, do not let difficulty turn them away from their calling. They press on, step by step, breath by breath, knowing that every challenge faced is another step closer to the victory that awaits them. They refuse to be defeated, refuse to give up, refuse to let go of the purpose they were born to fulfill. They live with gratitude. They do not take their blessings for granted, do not overlook the gifts they have been given. They find reasons to be thankful in every moment, reasons to celebrate even in the smallest things. They do not dwell on what they lack, do not focus on what they do not have. They rejoice in what is, in the beauty of the present, in the grace that meets them every single day. They do not wait for perfect conditions to be grateful, do not postpone their joy until everything is as they wish it to be. They live with hearts full of thanksgiving, knowing that a grateful spirit is the key to a fulfilled life. They walk through storms without fear, without complaint, without bitterness clinging to their souls. They have seen the skies darken, felt the winds howl, watched the rain pour in relentless sheets against their path. And yet they do not curse the storm, do not fight against its fury. They do not shake their fists at the heavens, demanding an explanation for the downpour. No, They simply keep walking. They do not cry out in frustration when the road floods beneath them, do not waste their energy lamenting the weather they cannot change. They press forward, step after step, knowing that the storm cannot last forever. They trust that the same force that allowed the winds to rise will, in time, command them to be still. They carry peace like a cloak wrapped around their shoulders, shielding them from the cold of uncertainty. They do not allow the weight of the world to settle upon them, do not absorb the fear and anxiety of those around them. They move through chaos with an unshaken spirit, untouched by the panic that grips others. They do not feed on worry, do not let it take root in their minds. They have seen enough to know that no battle is won by fear, no challenge is conquered by anxiety. They rest even in the middle of a storm, close their eyes even as the thunder roars. They do not lose sleep over what is beyond their control, do not exhaust themselves trying to force an outcome that is not theirs to determine. They know that peace is not found in a life without trouble, but in the unwavering certainty that trouble will never have the final word. They give without hesitation, without calculation, without expectation of return. They do not hoard their gifts, do not guard their resources with clenched fists. They understand that generosity is not a loss but a gain, that abundance is found not in keeping but in giving. They do not hesitate to share what they have, whether it be wealth, wisdom, or a simple act of kindness. They do not give from a place of fear, do not withhold out of a scarcity mindset. They do not measure their generosity by what they can afford to lose, but by what their hearts urge them to give. They do not give for recognition, do not seek applause for their kindness. They give in secret, in silence, in sincerity, knowing that true generosity does not seek validation. They do not dwell in confusion, do not wander in uncertainty without direction. They walk with clarity, even when they do not have all the answers. They do not need to see the entire path to take the first step, do not need to understand every detail before they move forward. They trust the guidance that whispers in their hearts, the quiet knowing that tells them which way to go. They do not second guess every decision, do not live in the paralysis of indecision. They move with confidence, knowing that they are being led even when they cannot see the destination. They do not rely on the wisdom of the world, do not place their faith in fleeting opinions. They trust in something deeper, something greater, something unshaken by the changing tides of human knowledge. They love without fear, without restraint, without condition. They do not hold back their affection, do not ration their kindness based on who they believe deserves it. They love even when it is difficult, even when it is not returned, even when it is met with rejection. They do not let past wounds close their hearts. Do not let old betrayals make them bitter. They understand that love is not a transaction, not an agreement based on mutual benefit. They love because they were created to love, because their hearts were made for compassion, because they know that love is the greatest power in existence. They do not withhold love as a punishment, do not use it as leverage to control others. They love freely, knowing that love given is never wasted, even when it is not received in the way they hoped. They are not afraid to be different, not afraid to stand alone, not afraid to walk a road that others do not understand. They do not conform for the sake of acceptance, do not dilute their truth to make others comfortable. They do not seek to blend in, do not compromise who they are to fit into places they were never meant to belong. They walk boldly in their uniqueness, unafraid of judgment, unconcerned with criticism. They know that true belonging is not found in being like everyone else, but in being fully themselves. They do not waste time explaining themselves to those who refuse to listen, do not beg for understanding from those unwilling to see. They are at peace with being set apart, knowing that their path is not for everyone, and that is perfectly okay. They endure suffering with grace, with dignity, with an unshaken spirit. They do not crumble under the weight of trials, do not collapse when life presses against them. They have learned that suffering is not a sign of weakness, but of growth, that hardship is not a punishment, but a preparation. They do not resist the refining fire, do not run from the seasons of testing. They embrace the struggle, knowing that it is shaping them into something stronger, something wiser, something greater than they were before. They do not waste their pain, do not let it turn them into victims. They allow it to transform them, to deepen their understanding, to strengthen their character. They do not curse their trials, but thank them, for they know that nothing is allowed without purpose. They do not chase happiness, do not depend on circumstances to bring them joy. They understand that happiness is fleeting, but joy is a choice, a state of being that does not rely on external conditions. They do not let bad days steal their light, do not let difficulties rob them of their joy. They find reasons to rejoice in every situation, reasons to be grateful even when life is not easy. They do not postpone their joy until everything is perfect. Do not wait for better days to allow themselves to smile. They laugh even in the midst of struggle, find beauty even in the hardest moments. They do not seek joy in temporary things, do not tie their happiness to material success. They carry joy within them, unshaken by what is happening around them. They walk in humility, never believing themselves to be above others, never seeking power for the sake of control. They do not elevate themselves at the expense of others, do not use their position to dominate or manipulate. They serve rather than demand service, give rather than take, uplift rather than oppress. They do not measure their worth by status, do not seek validation in titles or achievements. They understand that true greatness is not found in being the most powerful, but in being the most willing to serve. They do not look down on others, do not treat anyone as less than themselves. They see value in every person, treat all with kindness, regardless of their status, background, or past. They refuse to live in fear of the unknown, refuse to let uncertainty keep them from moving forward. They do not require every answer before taking a step, do not demand guarantees before making a decision. They understand that life is uncertain, that the future is never fully revealed, but they do not let this paralyze them. They move forward with confidence, not because they know what will happen, but because they trust that whatever happens, they will be okay. They do not let fear dictate their choices, do not let doubt keep them from pursuing their purpose. They walk forward, even when the road is unclear, even when the destination is unknown. They step out in faith, believing that their path will be revealed as they go. They do not waste time seeking revenge, do not waste energy plotting against those who have wronged them. They release bitterness, release anger, release the need to make others pay for their mistakes. They understand that justice does not belong to them, that revenge only poisons the heart. They choose to move forward rather than remain stuck in resentment, choose healing over hatred. They do not let the actions of others control their emotions, do not give their enemies the power to steal their peace. They live freely, unburdened by grudges, untouched by the need for retribution. They refuse to be prisoners of their past, choosing instead to walk forward in love, in peace, in grace. They live each day with purpose, with intention, with an awareness that life is not to be wasted. They do not take time for granted. Do not assume that they will always have another day, another chance, another opportunity. They wake up each morning with gratitude, with determination, with a commitment to make every moment count. They do not delay their dreams, do not postpone their purpose. They live fully, love deeply, give freely, and walk boldly in the knowledge that their lives are meant for something greater than themselves. They walk with a quiet strength, an unshaken certainty that life is not a series of random events, but a journey with purpose. They do not let fear dictate their steps, do not allow doubt to build walls around their destiny. They press forward, not because the path is easy, but because they know they are never walking alone. They have found peace beyond understanding, joy that does not fade with circumstances, and a love that does not waver when tested. Their hearts remain open, their hands always ready to give, their spirits never crushed by the weight of trials. They are not consumed by the opinions of others, not driven by the need for validation. They stand firm in who they are, unmoved by the shifting tides of the world around them. Their trust is not in what can be seen, nor in what can be controlled, but in the unseen, in the unshakable, in the certainty that they are held, guided, and strengthened in every season. And so they keep walking, keep believing, keep loving, knowing that every step forward is leading them exactly where they are meant to be.